Dimension 4, process improvement and optimization. When it comes to maintaining operational harmony among team members, processes, and technologies, it's crucial that everyone is on the same page. Each member must know their part and be able to communicate effectively with the rest of the team. This ensures everything runs smoothly and efficiently, leading to better outcomes. Whether you're working on a small project or a large-scale operation, it's vital to prioritize harmony and communication to ensure that everyone is working toward the same goal. SAUS Principle 50. Follow the Minimum Viable Optimization MVO system. I developed the MVO framework to help you strip out any unnecessary steps toward achieving the minimum acceptable and viable outcome for your situation. You have to keep in mind that the aim is not to find the perfect path, because that doesn't exist. Some might argue that it does, but we don't need a perfect solution because it's overkill and wastes valuable time. The MVO framework is inspired by the Minimum Viable Product (MVP) philosophy. It is an extension of the design thinking framework, which I explain later in Principle 53, as it adopts the same useful mindset of speaking to users and customers and testing hypotheses. The MVO framework will delve deeper into optimizing process design by maximizing the time, resources, and capacity at your disposal. Refer to Figure 13, example of process mapping. For example, let's say your conversion rate from website sign-up to paying customer is 5%, but you believe it should be 20% based on benchmarking with competitors and similar services. However, jumping by 15% in 1 month seems unrealistic. So, you start looking at the points of friction in the conversion process. Is it the form-filling process, the requirements, or the type of customer you're attracting? In this situation, using the MVO framework, you'll take the following activities. Build a strategic framework document. State the goal, the objectives, the deliverables, and the timeline. Make sure the deliverables are realistic. An example of a deliverable would be increase the conversion rate from 5% to 10% instead of 15%, which could be too high. Also, the timeline of the pilot shouldn't exceed 2 weeks from the date of launch. Assess the options and prioritize them based on impact, resource consumption, and risk of failure. You can score them if you like. The aim is to give you a better understanding of the return you'll see from your efforts. Keep testing and assessing the outcome. Maintain clear visibility of the outcome. Avoid changing too many variables in a process flow at the same time, because that will dilute the outcome and it will take you longer to understand what influenced the outcome. If Spotify wanted to increase the monthly conversion rate from free to paid premium customers, changing the color of the checkout page, adding exclusive songs to paid customers, and running a marketing campaign will all help increase the conversion rate. However, you won't know which one really gave you the highest impact because you implemented all of them at the same time, and you won't know which one you should double down on. Mapping your processes and calculating your capacity in this way will give you a better feeling of what approach will yield better results. I built my own version as part of the MVO toolkit. You can watch the tutorial and download the template in the resources website of the book. Refer to Figure 14, sample of the MVO toolkit. SAUS Principle 51. Change one variable at a time. When testing a possible solution, it's best to only change one variable at a time to ensure you don't dilute the outcome and minimize the noise. I use the analogy of noise because when you have many musical instruments playing the same piece of music but are not coordinated, it just becomes noise that you can enjoy or understand as a song. But once each instrument's output has been analyzed and timed correctly in the full song, the song will turn into an enjoyable piece of art. The same applies to designing processes and delivering value to the customers. When under pressure, it's easy to cut corners if you're in a hurry. However, cutting corners could become more expensive and cause more delays in the long run. For example, you're producing a popular peanut butter brand with specific ingredients, and you decide to substitute one of the ingredients because your usual supplier doesn't provide it anymore. So, instead of going and looking for the exact same ingredient brand or using an alternative you have tested before to deliver the exact same taste, you use an untested generic brand and deliver it to the customers. This could hurt your brand if your customers realize your peanut butter doesn't taste the same, or if new customers who purchased it because of a recommendation talk badly about the taste. I have often heard, "We tried it and it didn't work." Then I find out they were changing more than one variable at a time. For example, if you want to reduce one step in a process, there are many variables you have to account for, such as who's the person you'll be training to complete the steps? Are you eliminating the step itself? What are the ramifications of removing such a step? Did you assess the risks and involve the stakeholders if the risks were high? How can you turn a gamble into a calculated guess? If you still struggle with understanding the concept of this principle, I suggest learning more about how A/B testing works as a research method. A/B testing is an easy concept to understand that could work for you. Let's imagine you are onboarding customers through a form with 7 steps, and 50% of the applicants stop at step 3 of the form. You look at the form and you realize that you're asking them to share a description of their line of business. So your objective is to enable the maximum number of applicants to complete step 3. To achieve that objective, you have the following options. Remove step 3 from the form. Create a drop-down for the applicants to choose from. Let them input the website address, build a crawler that collects information from their website, and then, through artificial intelligence, fill in step 3 for them. Move step 3 to step 7 in the queue. So, to know which option would deliver the highest completion rate, you need to follow a structured approach in testing them. If you implement option B and D together, then you won't know which one really worked and whether it would have worked better if you made one change at a time. So you take a group of customers with similar profiles. You first launch option A and option B. You test them, then you select the one that has delivered a better result. If option B worked, then you compare options B and C. If B has a better conversion, then you compare B against option D and choose the best one between the two. Creating focus groups of customers and interviewing them might introduce other options in the process. My advice: apply the concept at the beginning without getting into the details of A/B testing. Refer to Figure 15, example of a simplified A/B testing flow. SAUS Principle 52, ensure your data is sound and accessible. The quality and frequency of the data you receive are critical to ensure you make more accurate and timely decisions. This will help you prioritize the right objectives and know what is happening and what needs to be done to achieve your goals. For example, having accurate and timely data on customer churn is important because it will provide insight into the reasons customers are leaving and when. You could ask them to fill out a closure request form or go through an exit interview. In a previous position, I was repeatedly receiving churn data that was 2 to 3 months old. I realized that it didn't have accurate timestamps, but was based on the last update received. I couldn't act effectively on this information. SAUS Principle 53, seek the optimal, not the perfect. An optimal solution will have some imperfections that can be forgiven, but will still hit the main objectives. I have seen many leaders spending too much time trying to perfect every aspect of their project, resulting in a delayed and overcomplicated product. That's why design thinking or Kaizen approaches teach you how to deliver results quickly and incrementally. For example, design thinking is a lean, scientific approach to developing data-backed solutions that work. In the figure below, you can see the process flow of developing a hypothesis, then prototyping a solution. After a few cycles of testing and improving, a viable solution is reached, which is proven to work. Refer to Figure 16, Innovation Process taught by Stanford GSB. Let's say you want to reduce the customer churn for a subscription-based project management software. You conduct interviews with customers who are canceling your service and discover that they are leaving for 3 main reasons. The first reason, better price offered by a competitor, 20%. Second, Missing integration with QuickBooks, 40%. Third, report generation is difficult, 40%. Which root cause will you focus on? How will you prioritize them? Which one is the fastest and easiest to solve? Let's assume you want to solve the first problem. The perfect solution is to introduce flexible packages where the customer can mix their own bundle of features. And the optimal solution for now is to offer a discount if you subscribe for 2 years instead of 1. The first solution is a great long-term project. It would take time to build a model, obtain approval, and commission the engineering team to complete it. The optimal option will yield immediate results. It offers a quick remedy while you work incrementally on the ideal option. Even that can be broken down into milestones to test what packages would be attractive to customers. SAUS Principle 54, make work visible. This allows everyone on the team to see what tasks are in the queue, the team's progress, and where there may be potential roadblocks or bottlenecks. This improves communication, collaboration, and accountability within the team. Work can be made visible through a project management tool like Trello or Asana, creating a shared spreadsheet or document that outlines tasks and progress. Or you could use a whiteboard with sticky notes representing tasks. Choose a method that everyone is comfortable using. It's important to keep things up to date to ensure that everyone has the most accurate information and can make informed decisions. It also promotes a trusting culture, encouraging creativity and innovation in a company, and minimizes room for silos to form. Principle 55, there are always multiple solutions, never only one. There are always good options to choose from, but only some will be optimal. Keep an open mind to your team's and peers' suggestions. Tap into the collective intelligence of your team. If you don't have the right skill set on your team, look at the expertise in other teams. If you still have no luck, take a leap and learn as you go. Fix issues as you face them. Also, if it's a critical project, you can find a freelance expert to advise you. SAUS Principle 56, eliminate silos among functions. Silos are created when simple tasks, recurring requests, and sign-offs get stuck for approvals by one person instead of delegating the decision-making process to the rest of the team through implementing policies and controls. Silos hinder the speed of service delivery and make the team less proactive and more reactive in solving a customer problem because you're making them dependent on the decision made by someone else. And it's also communicating to them that they are not trustworthy to make decisions. At the center of silos, you'll find someone who's thriving on the inertia that the power of being needed as the sole approver and decider. I cover this in more detail in SAUS Principle number 33, detect and diffuse the root cause of power withdrawal symptoms. From a business continuity perspective, every decision and process has to be free from the dependency on 1 or 2 people only. An internal knowledge base has to be available and accessible for every function. The knowledge base includes the procedures, training materials, SLAs, internal escalation process, and all other key information required for running an uninterrupted, smooth operation. Every process must have primary owners and 2 to 3 levels of deputies. Principle 36, implement a responsibilities matrix, covers how the ownership of these areas is delegated and built. All passwords and credentials must be securely locked and accessible to all the key managers and supervisors. If a password of a tool is forgotten, any one of the authorized employees can access and reset the password, updating everyone within the team. It is natural for many employees to want to feel important and indispensable and create alliances and clusters, especially as the company grows. In the Middle East, tribal thinking is very common among the locals and the expats who live in the region. One way to diffuse such a clustering is to make sure that there's enough diversity of nationalities, which works well for business continuity. Silo seeders are typically those who have been at the company since the startup or seed stage. They were likely initially leading several functions or fulfilling multiple roles. As the company grew, some of their responsibilities were reassigned to specialists, which made the silo seeders feel insecure and defensive. To protect their role, they started hiding information and putting themselves at the center of every decision. The danger of this attitude is it fosters a lack of trust and rivalry among departments. It creates single points of failure because the policies are not followed or absent. By hoarding information and keeping it to themselves, these lonely geniuses can cripple operations. There's a proverb attributed to Lord Acton, a British historian and politician: all power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's another quote that I can't recall where I heard, which really rings true. Freedom without control leads to abuse. When you have no controls in place to ensure knowledge is shared and transparent, information bullies will end up creating silos and disrespecting SLAs. There are many ways you can break these silos, including creating and tracking SLAs among departments and offering incentives for completing tasks within the cross-functional SLAs. To learn more about his subject, I suggest reading books on change management, including The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. SAUS Principle 57. Use activity metrics to drive daily and weekly actions. More than just monthly performance reviews, using KPIs and OKRs are needed to coordinate a team and maximize its chances of success. Daily metrics and schedules will help you develop a team of productive individuals who work intentionally and are likely to achieve a state of flow. Let's say Agent has a quarterly target of onboarding 500 customers. You can break this down to the activities needed over those 3 months. How many follow-ups does the agent need to make? Cold calls. How many applications do they need to process? How many training sessions they need to conduct? List the answers and set daily and weekly targets for each to help them achieve their performance goals and objectives. SAUS Principle 58. Beware the past success bias trap. It's also known as outcome bias. Applying the same solution to a problem just because it worked before could limit innovation and, at times, lead to failure. When solving a new process, product, or strategy problem, use everything around you for inspiration to ask the right strategic questions. If an approach has worked for you or someone else in a similar situation, it's worth putting high on your priorities as a solution, but you have to be open to the fact it might not work this time. Many variables change over time, such as the available technologies, people around you, what competitors offer in the market, budget constraints, and more. That's why you need to keep an open mind to making new discoveries through prototyping before fully deploying a new process or solution. For example, let's assume you're working for a fintech startup and you have a new customer application you need to process through collecting all identification and verification documents. As the number of applications grows and the size of the team grows, you need to create a system that will help your team remain organized and for your supervisors to monitor the performance of the team members on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Based on an old experience, you were using Excel sheets to assign people lists of customers and then track them, and that worked. So you want to implement the same solution. Someone from your team suggests making the applications available visually through a Kanban board. Will you dismiss this proposal because Excel documents worked before, or are you open to learning more about how Kanbans are implemented and giving it a shot? SAUS Principle 59. Be intentional with your work. It is easy to get carried away when you are presented with an opportunity and jump in with both feet without being aware of the pitfalls. For example, someone approaches you with a proposal for an exciting product that will automate customer onboarding and slash the time it takes by half. I have seen many people make a decision without checking what alternatives are available and if this is the optimal solution for them or not. They pay for the solution and end up not using it. SAUS Principle 60. Understand and address all 4 levels of planning. You can use OKRs or a similar method to build a framework around the following levels. Level 1. Strategic. This is the highest level of planning, meant to set the long to mid-term goals of the organization and outline what needs to be done to reach them. It gives the organization direction and cascades to the tactical level of each function and department. Usually, it covers up to 5 years in advance, but it can be longer. Level 2, tactical. This comes after the strategic level, where you identify projects and initiatives to reach the objectives. It includes developing KPIs, budgets, and departmental or functional planning. Level 3, operational, execution by the managers, frontline employees, and other staff. This level is about direct action on tasks, scheduling, admin, designing, and interviewing, to name just a few. Level 4, general. This is everything else that does not directly link to the goals, but ensures that all projects and plans run smoothly. For example, employee performance bonuses are not directly linked to the organization's goal. However, they are crucial to keep everyone motivated and incentivized.